danger to the Union. Good afternoon, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching. I seen a video clip with Don Keefe, who is an American commentator, and Ben Habib, and they're discussing why Ben thinks that Restore Britain is a threat to the Union, the United Kingdom. I'm here to tell Ben, unfortunately, that he's completely off the mark on this one. For the record, I like Ben. I think he's a good guy. Generally speaking, before this rift with Rupert Lowe and the vis-a-vis between Advance UK and Restore Britain, he was usually on the right side of things, but I need to call him out and I need to see things as I see them. So we're going to get into the clip, and his characterisation of Restore Britain is also off as well, and it's disappointing. So we're going to get into the clip first of all.
You were talking about on Wooten, you warned that ethno-nationalist rhetoric could legitimize separatists in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and unleash despicable violent voices, I believe is the word you use. What are some concrete examples of that, of how Restore Britain's approach is already risking the Union?
So before Ben's was taught, I want to say that separatism in Scotland is already a thing, and they didn't need to Restore Britain for that. They just needed to look at the boogeyman that was Margaret Thatcher from the 1980s, blame everything on her and the evil Tories, and that's enough for the separatists in Scotland. We already have devolution, by the way, which has put a spanner in the works between Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and this was done in 1997. Alright? We already have separatist movements, and they are galvanised by the fact that they've got their own Mickey Mouse parliaments to wax lyrical on the evils of the English. So we'll continue with what Ben says.
If you speak up for English nationalism through English ethnicity, what you're effectively saying, correctly, from a non-political perspective, what you're correctly saying is there is a Scottish ethnicity, a Welsh ethnicity, and an Ulster ethnicity, all of which is correct.
Okay, so we're getting to the issue here. If you acknowledge English ethnicity is real, you also acknowledge that Scottish ethnicity is real, Irish ethnicity is real, and Welsh ethnicity is real. We would all be on the same page with that. What we're asking for is an acknowledgement of the native people of Britain. This isn't specifically English-centric. If you look at Restore Britain, they're making very much the same argument for Scotland as in native Scots, native Ulster men and women, and the native Welsh. It's all very much the same stage. Me personally, I would compare with that as well, because they've got the same problem in the Republic of Ireland. It's not going to breed separatism. I'm sorry to poo-poo on your parade, Ben. It really isn't. If you acknowledge that the native British people, whether that's Ulster, Scots, Welsh or English, have a inheritance to this land, that should unite the peoples of Britain together under one banner, like the Union Jack, united in a singular vision and purpose. This should be a unifying issue, this should be a unifying factor. Saying that England has had done so in the Union, which I'll get to in a moment, is a separate issue, but Ben's bang off the mark on this. He's he's peeing in the wind, to coin a phrase.
They all have their separate the languages. They have a different accent. The way they interact with each other is slightly different, and so on. And
they also have separate parliaments or Mickey Mouse assemblies, thanks to Tony Blair in Devolution. They all need to go.
The minute you do that, and you say, well, actually, England needs to be politically now, not philosophically or culturally, but now politically England needs ethnicity. If that ethnicity politically needs to be recognised, because as a political party, it's all about politics, right?
This is the issue, and this is a lot of people in England would make this argument. I'm not one of them. I'm for the Union. However, I can even acknowledge there is a disparity. You've got the Scots who've got Holyrood, you've got the Welsh that have got the Senedd, and you've got the Stormont in Ulster. So I can acknowledge there is a disparity there. What Ben is saying is he doesn't recognise the disparity, or he's glossing over the fact that they have devolved assemblies, and England has nothing. All right, this isn't that's not the political argument that's being made by Restore Britain. The political argument that's being made by Restore Britain currently is there is such a thing as a British ethnicity, whether that's Scots, English, Welsh, or Irish, united in Britain, the United Kingdom. That's not going to breed separatism. The separatists will rattle their sabre for independence no matter what. This wouldn't add to it. This is distinct. What he's saying here is that he's conflating the two things. It sounds like he's saying that Restore Britain is saying, well, England needs its own parliament, because that's politically the logical extension of what he's getting at here. But now, if, say, for example, you say England for the English, Scotland for the Scottish, Welsh for the Welsh, Ireland for the Irish, that's not inherently anti-union. What it says is the peoples of the British Isles have a inheritance to their countries. Alright, what is a country without its people? That's the argument that's being made with Restore Britain. He's trying to make a narrow political point of saying, well, England needs to be represented in the British Parliament, and that's going to cause ruptures with the Celtic nations. No.
So it's about making what the policy for England. The minute
that's already happening. Alright, you have devolved areas of government and non-devolved areas of government, okay? The British Parliament legislates exclusively for England on devolved areas. So the NHS in the British Parliament is specifically for England, because the Scottish Assembly deals with it in Scotland and whatnot. That's already happening. That's already a thing. Once you identify that issue, you can say abolish devolution. That would be my opinion. And a lot of people's opinion, abolish it, get rid of it. Alright? It creates division. What he's saying is he doesn't want Britain, as in England specifically, to assert itself as a ethnicity and a people. I've got major problems with that.
you start making policies for England, you're going to start making policies effectively for Scotland.
Again, it's like he's skipping devolution entirely. He's skipping the devolution, the elephant in the room, the Jimmy Cranky in the room. Alright, acknowledge it. The home nations, the Celtic nations, have devolution, and the British Parliament only has exclusive competency over laws in England. That is the reality of the political setup that Tony Blair gave us. This has nothing to do with Restore Britain, Ben Baby. Ben Baby, it really hasn't.
And you'll start tearing at the threads that established, which established the kingdom in 1707.
I agree with Ben. Sort of. The prescription is to abolish devolution, alright? Or make it that Scottish, Welsh and Irish MPs cannot vote on non-devolved issues to England, alright? So if it's exclusively a English issue, then they can't vote on it. That should be the logical outcome. Or England gets its own devolved assembly, okay? This is completely separate to the fact that Scotland, England, Wales and Ulster all have indigenous peoples, and they need to assert themselves politically, just like any other bloc vote.
We're not actually a nation. We're a kingdom. I keep saying the nation of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. But we are...
I would say country. We are a United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. The Act of Union is very, very specific in the language. It merged the nations of Scotland and England into a single kingdom under the Union Jack. That's specifically what the text of the Union says. Alright?
Kingdom. We're a kingdom of 4 nations. Scotland, Wales, England and Northern Ireland.
So we'll leave that here, but he's missing the mark entirely, because effectively we have 3 distinct jurisdictions in the United Kingdom. We have England and Wales, we have Scotland, and we have Northern Ireland. They're distinct legal locales, okay? And just because you've got different legal systems doesn't mean you're separate countries. I mean, look at the United States, for example. 50 states, all distinctly got their own legal systems, but they're in a single union, which is America. But he articulates something, but he glosses over how it's happening, and I'm going to get into that now. So I'm going to end this here, but he glosses over what's actually happening. There is friction in the union. There is friction between the home nations. But it's not a friction on ethnicity, and it's not a friction of the English ethnics having a problem with the Welsh ethnics or the Scots ethnics. It's nothing to do with that. It's the way that devolution has been politically exploited to help the ruling party. Now, at the moment, legal is devolved to Scotland, but it's not devolved in England and Wales. Now, a larger channel made the point that the recent vote in Parliament, where 304 MPs voted to scrap jury trials in England and Wales, by the way, because there's a single jurisdiction, 2 countries in a single jurisdiction, it wasn't completely passed by Scottish MPs, but they played a part. They were voting specifically on a matter that was pertaining to England and Wales, but their legal is dealt with in Edinburgh, so they can vote on curtailing my rights in my jurisdiction in England and Wales, whereas they're sitting pretty because their legal is dealt with in Edinburgh, not down in Westminster. Now, Scotland only has about 59 MPs in the British Parliament, and the vote was nearly 100 in favour of scrapping my rights to jury trials, so they didn't carry it entirely, but it was a factor. This type of thing breeds resentment in England, and this is unfair because you have Scottish MPs voting to impact my rights in my district or my legal designation, but we can't vote in theirs. It's the West Lothian question. Now, a similar thing happened under the last Tony Blair government as well, whereas they devolved education to the Scottish Assembly, and then Labour used its huge majority of Labour MPs and Scottish MPs to force through tuition fees in England. So they've done it before. So the fact that this larger channel has highlighted that, it's not necessarily a surprise that it's being done, because this is what Labour does. But it's more sinister, and I'm going to stick on the jury trials for a moment. I'll give you 2 examples. My former MP, Derek Twigg, up in Widnes and Halewood, he voted to abolish my right to a jury trial. And there was another one down south in Cardiff called, I think her name's Jo Stevens. I could be mistaken, but I think it's Jo Stevens in Cardiff. They've got huge majorities in these areas. And if you look at there's only 304 that voted for it, by the way, and they're all Labour. And Labour has over 400 MPs. It wouldn't surprise me if the people that were abstaining from the vote were people that have smaller majorities that they're thinking I can't abolish my constituents' rights because they're going to vote me out. So it's quite sinister. Alright, so to cap off, Ben Habib is dead wrong on this. There is divisions in the union. There is divisions being used against the English by devolved MPs when they're voting on matters that their constituents won't have to answer to them about. It is happening, but it's not about the ethnic Scots and the ethnic English and the ethnic Welsh and the ethnic Irish fighting against each other. It's not about that, because they've got the similar issues that we've got here. Scotland has a problem with immigration, just like England has, because it's dealt with at a British level. So it's nothing to do with English asserting their identity, Ben. Now I'm going to leave this here. Now if you comment below, let me know if you think I'm right or wrong. All opinions are valid. No right, no wrong. I'm setting out my stall here. Ben is completely off the mark on this, and it's beneath him. He shouldn't be engaging in things like this. He's missing the point entirely. Now if you like the video, like and subscribe, sure. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.